There's a peculiar kind of silence that lives beside a lake, the kind that listens. It hears the laughter, the lies, and the secrets people think dissolve into still water. But nothing really disappears. Not in places like that. My name is Celeste, and my husband thought he could hide his sins in our lake house, the one I built with love, brick by brick, memory by memory. Before we begin, if you enjoy calm, emotional stories about betrayal, justice, and quiet revenge, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more softly told stories that linger long after the ending. The lake house had always been our sanctuary. Nestled in pine and glass, it was the kind of place people dream of escaping to, just far enough from the city to feel like freedom. We spent our anniversaries there, slow summers, and our best laughter, until the laughter changed. It began subtly, the way all betrayals do. David, my husband, started visiting the house alone. He said it helped him think, that the quiet gave him focus. I believed him. I always did. Trust is a strange creature. Once you feed it too long, it grows even after it's dead. But I started noticing things. Receipts tucked in his wallet from the grocery near the lake when he was supposedly at work. Perfume that wasn't mine. Still, I said nothing. Silence, I've learned, can be the sharpest tool. Then one evening, I received a message from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. David's car, parked in the driveway of the lake house, and in the window, a woman's shadow, her hand brushing back the curtain. I remember sitting perfectly still, watching that image glow on my phone. It didn't even hurt, not at first. It was almost like déjà vu, as if I had always known this moment was waiting for me. But the hurt came later. It came when I remembered every stone I helped choose for that house, every laugh we shared on its porch, every promise made under its roof. And now, he had given it to her. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I went quiet, observed, waited. Over the next few weeks, I learned her name, Elise. A woman from his office, younger, ambitious, the kind who thought stolen love meant power. They met at the lake house every weekend while I believed he was traveling for work, and each time he'd return home to me, smelling faintly of her perfume and lake air. One night, as he slept beside me, I looked at him and realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake and calm, because anger belongs to those who still need something from the person who hurt them. I needed nothing. The following weekend, I told him I had to visit my sister for a few days. He smiled, too easily, and said, "Of course, sweetheart, take your time." I nodded. And when he left for work the next morning, I drove to the lake house instead. The drive was quiet pine trees whispering like witnesses. The house appeared through the mist, exactly as I remembered it, except now it felt different. Colder. Borrowed. When I entered, the air smelled faintly of rose perfume and wine. Her things were everywhere, silk scarf on the chair, hairbrush on the dresser, a pair of shoes neatly placed by the bed. I stood there for a long time, taking it all in the invasion, the audacity, the fragility of what they thought they could build on lies. And then, slowly, I began to plan. Not vengeance, not destruction, just truth. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't what you take, it's what you let them see. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window overlooking the lake, the same one David and I used to drink coffee beside in the mornings. The moonlight rippled across the water, soft and unbothered, as if it had seen it all before. By dawn, I had decided exactly what to do. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to destroy what I'd built. No, I was going to reclaim it in silence, in grace, and in truth. The next afternoon, I returned to the city and waited. When David told me he'd be working late that weekend, I smiled gently and kissed his cheek. "Be safe," I said. He didn't know I'd already called the caretaker at the lake house and told him I wanted to surprise my husband to prepare the place, light the lanterns, and make sure everything was perfect. He didn't know I'd arranged for Elise to receive an anonymous invitation, a handwritten note that said, "Meet me tonight at the lake house. I have something to tell you, something that will change everything." Signed only with his initials. By the time the sun fell behind the trees, both of them were there. I arrived later, parking quietly down the path, the air thick with summer heat and tension. From the porch, I could hear them arguing inside. Her voice was trembling. "You didn't write that letter, did you?" His voice followed, low, defensive. "What are you talking about?" I stepped into the doorway just as he turned, and for a moment, neither of them moved. The color drained from his face. Elise stood behind him, pale and wide-eyed, like a woman seeing a ghost. "Celeste," he breathed. "What are you—" "I live here," I interrupted softly. "Remember?" Silence, the kind that bends the air around it. I walked past him, calm, deliberate. My heels echoed against the floorboards, the same ones I'd polished with my own hands years ago. I poured myself a glass of wine, then looked out at the lake. "It's beautiful tonight," I said quietly. "Perfect view, don't you think?" Elise shifted uncomfortably. I should go." I turned to her. "No, stay, please. I'd like you both to see this." Her eyes darted to David, but he said nothing. He looked trapped not by me, but by everything he'd built on lies. I gestured toward the large window overlooking the lake. "That view right there," I said, "was my favorite part of this house. I used to watch the sun rise there every morning. It reminded me that even beauty can reflect darkness, depending on where you stand." Neither spoke. The air was tight, trembling. I took another sip of wine. "You thought you could fill this place with secrets and it would keep them safe, but the lake doesn't forget. It reflects everything, even what you try to hide." David tried to speak, but I raised a hand. "No, not tonight." I walked closer to the glass, the soft light from the lake flickering over my face. "You see, Elise, I built this home with love. Every corner, every stone, every bit of it was made with a heart that believed in something pure. And then you both brought your shadows here." Her voice broke. "I didn't mean—" "I know," I said gently. "People rarely mean to ruin others. They just convince themselves it isn't ruin until it's too late." I opened the sliding door and stepped onto the deck. The night air brushed against my skin, cool and clean. "Come," I said softly. "I want to show you something." They hesitated, but followed. We stood together overlooking the lake. The moonlight shimmered across the surface, reflecting 3 figures, one calm, one ashamed, one broken. "This view," I said, "was once ours, David. It was where you told me we'd grow old, where you said you'd never keep secrets from me." He swallowed hard. "Celeste, You did," I said simply. "You just never imagined I'd see them." For a moment, the only sound was the water lapping against the dock. I set down my glass and turned to Elise. "You can keep him," I said, "but I wanted you to see what kind of man he becomes when no one's watching. The reflection never lies." She looked at him, and something in her expression cracked realization maybe. The slow unraveling of illusion. I didn't need to say more. I walked past them, back inside, and placed the keys to the house on the counter. "I'll have my things moved tomorrow," I said softly. "You two can decide what to do with the rest." David's voice trembled. "Celeste, please." "I'm not angry," I said, turning to face him. "You both deserve each other, and I deserve peace." And then I left. As I drove away, I caught one last glimpse of the house in my rearview mirror, its lights glowing softly against the dark water, like a lantern for the lost. I never went back. Weeks later, I heard they'd split. That Elise had left after discovering the lies I'd quietly let rise to the surface, the fake business deals, the hidden debts, the charm that turned cruel behind closed doors. People said I'd handled it well. But the truth is, it wasn't about handling. It was about reclaiming. I didn't ruin them. I just let them face the reflection they tried to hide. And that night, when I gave her the view, she'd never forget I wasn't showing her revenge. I was showing her truth. Because sometimes, the lao, calmest water, reveals the deepest wounds. And sometimes the quietest woman is the one holding the most powerful storm. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more calm, emotional stories, the kind that remind us that truth doesn't always scream. Sometimes it simply looks back.